Always. You can't be both great. No.
So they can make us so staff.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for coming. The October meeting of the Camden Harbor Committee. The spiel, as I always started, subject to the public meeting. Minutes will be taken. It is being recorded on YouTube and Zoom. I'm gonna try to keep the conversation going, but if you have thoughts, ideas, questions, try to direct them through me, please, just so we can keep things orderly. I think we're gonna have at least one person joining us by Zoom today, and that's about it. I do know, just for a point of reference, that Philippine Lamont just spoke to me or emailed me rather this morning. She is been pulled out of town, so she is not able to join us this morning. Thinks that French is gonna join us via Zoom. Let's keep an eye over there. Somebody sees someone right over here, just let me know. Public input on non-agenda items. Anybody have anything? I actually have one. It's not an agenda item, I guess. That is a follow-up to Elliot's conversation or discussion last week about the electrifying of the harbor fleet and the pump out boat. And after that, we did have communication with Steve Pixley, and then he had communication with the state about electrifying. And the short answer from the state was that they did research it for the most recent pump out, I believe, boat that they did down in Casco Bay. And they found that the engines, I believe, were not powerful enough to work for that boat, the electric engines. I'd like to continue that discussion with them because I think that was probably a couple of years ago, and the technology has advanced pretty significantly since then. So I would say that if I just think we should continue that conversation with them, with the state. I think it's a really good idea and a direction that we as a community need to be heading in. And if this is not, if they're not able to do an electric motor on this boat to start, I would like to find out if it could accommodate an electric motor down the road. You know what I mean? So we all know that the gas engine is not going to be forever. Yep.
I wonder, pump out boat, you have the propulsion of the boat itself, and then you have the power for the pumping.
Right.
That may be what the complication is.
Maybe, I think they're separate. I think they're two totally separate systems. I'm pretty sure they couldn't do the electric pumping of the sewage. I'm pretty sure that I don't know an electric motor that would just plug and play there, but the propulsion for the boat is pretty far advanced. They've got some pretty big engines now. This is emerging technology, evolving technology, I guess. So I'm not totally surprised the state isn't quite ready to do it. That's not really fair to put it on the state, but so I think we should continue the campaign.
You know, with the Portland capacity need, I just envisioning a big harbor, and do they have the same size pump out requirement that we have for basically smaller boats?
And a little harbor. I don't know. That's a great question because I think I'd have to look through. I think they said it was for the Casco Bay pump out boat, which it would seem like it'd be much bigger. You know what I mean? Going to the islands and all that stuff.
Well, or just the size. I mean, are they in a harbor marina type setting doing the same kind of boats that we have coming through here, or are they doing substantial commercial boats or something?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it does sound, but it's a bit more significant. But so anyway, that's the only update that I have on that. But I think it's something that we need to keep on, and especially keeping on, as you know, Steve has a little fleet down there of he'll have that, and he's going to keep the other one apparently for sort of service boat, and then he's also got his little Boston whaler think the engines are all pretty new on all of those boats, but it won't be forever. And I think it's important that we ask the question at the very least when we have to.
And there is grant money available
Right.
for such expenditures, municipal expenditures.
Mhm.
And Island Institute is a good resource for information on that.
Okay.
Island Institute has a number of initiatives on electrification. And they have a lot of knowledge about that. In fact, they offer a grant themselves.
They do. Wow. All right. Well, I don't think it was, because I think the state is paying for the whole thing, so I don't think it was about the money, it was about the technology, but
The state's 90%.
90%.
Oh, yeah.
But so maybe the town could get that grant for the extra 10. Before we proceed too far, Bruce is unable to be here today, he's come back from the Indianapolis Boat Show. So I do need someone to take the minutes. Please, any volunteers before I script some. I tried to do it myself last time, he's not here, and it didn't go well, I can tell you that. Anybody at all? Elliot, when did your last hurrah? No.
I'll do
John,
it.
can you-
I mean, I can always go back and just
Yeah.
replay this.
And I don't know, I mean.
For
thank you.
entertainment value.
Well, I mean, I don't really even
Right.
need minutes, it's just
It's just
replay
Exactly,
the thing and
go back through it,
do it then.
and I don't know if you guys have seen, well, you have seen, the minutes, but we used to have very extensive minutes and like sort of go into great detail. And, I was instructed actually by our liaison at the time, that that's really not what the minutes are about. Minutes are about actions, votes, and, general topics of discussion. It doesn't need to be, and I think to Tom's point, it is a good one.
I'll do a recap
If
of
somebody wants, I'd like a verbatim, Tom.
my leisure time. I can play it in the coffee shop.
There you go.
He particularly wants the Josh said.
Yeah, exactly.
Detail.
Quotes and all that. All right, well, seeing no public input on non-agenda items, let's go to the meeting minutes for our last time. I did not have a printer down. That was so I find those, there we go. Did anybody get a chance to look at the meeting minutes for last month? Elliot?
Well, I have a comment, as item 4, Day Sailor Windjammer license review. We've had recent discussions about transferability. And there are, some notes here about that, but I'm not seeing anything conclusive in what's presented here. And I noticed that the issue has dropped off of our current agenda, so I'm kind of.
Well, and I thought about putting it on the agenda, but because we said we wanted something sort of in writing. And I looked back through and I talked to Sophie as well. And she is of the mind, as am I, that we by giving these recommendations, and I'm going to make sure this verbiage, so this is important verbiage in these minutes, goes to Audra, because I think that's the correct next step. Because, but I want to have this discussion about whether or not these 3 items, the way Bruce has summarized them, capture what we talked about. I went through the minutes recording as well to make sure that I knew it, and it seemed to me that we capture it here, but if you guys don't.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty clear in the licensing agreement that the license is not transferable automatically. So, and with that said, that means that a boat owner can't say, I'll sell you the boat and the license. It's up to the town to make that determination. And I just thought that spelled out fairly clearly in
I
the
think it's fairly clear,
agreement.
but I think I think it could be better clarified. Like, it's such an important piece of these businesses that I think everybody needs to sort of have their eyes wide open about what they would be buying if they're buying a boat. and the process. So that's why I think, you know, clarification or codification is needed. I think it could say, you know, maybe in the agreement itself, it says, you know, this agreement is non-transferable or something
I
like
think
that.
it does say that, doesn't
It said
it?
that-
I don't have my paperwork with me, but
Say something like that.
I'm pretty sure it does say that.
I mean, the biggest thing was the review process, because I think we said in the last meeting that the Lazy Jack, for instance, when they went, the process went to the select board before it came to us. And I couldn't find anything that was written down that said, this is the process. You know what I mean? You go to the harbor master first, and then you go to the harbor committee, and then you go to the select board. That's what I think needs to be. At least, I don't know if it needs to be in an ordinance, I really don't.
Yeah,
I think it would just be in a document that the town office has, you know what I mean? So that if somebody says, I want to run a new day sailor.
see, I didn't bring a copy of the ordinance with me today, but because I didn't think we talked about this, but I thought that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it went to the select board and they determined that it had to come to us first. So it kind of held up the process and it came to us and then went back to the select board. Is that,
It did, but the only reason it came back to us is frankly because I noticed that it never went to us. But I saw it on the select board agenda and I flagged it and I said, wait a minute, this is supposed to come to us first. And so they said, yep, yeah, it is. So then that's what I did. But that, it's to prevent that from happening. Yeah,
gotcha.
is kind of the process.
Question, I think the bigger question. Because all that can be sorted out unless someone's literally like, hurry, hurry, hurry. But the bigger question is, if I have an existing license and I'm selling my boat. I think Mark is. I suspect it says it's not transferable, but when. That person goes to the select board for the remainder of the existing term for approval as the new provider, operator. Does it actually potentially open it up that someone who hasn't had a boat gets to apply for that spot? Because I think that the conversation was that obviously continuity is a big part of the value of these. But you don't want someone who, you don't want someone who just gets to come in, who might have been thrown out of Rockland or whatever for bad behavior and come in without a review of them running that boat.
Yeah, I think the thing is, because there is the review every year, and they come to us with the license application. I'm trying to remember the terminology, it's the renewal, you know what I mean? Because it's a 3-year, I guess it's not actually a renewal, it's the
Review process.
Review
Review.
process.
Annual review.
We would at that time see a change in operator, not a change in vessel, but a change in operator. And that's when we would have a chance to say, wait a minute, this is a different operator now. Different owner.
Mhm.
But I don't think that works.
No,
You just imagine that the transfer goes through on April 15th or whatever.
Yeah,
And so you're gonna have an entire summer with an unapproved operator.
yeah, it doesn't work.
That has to be approved by the select board.
Yeah,
And what it is that priority goes to existing boats. But it does become open to everybody.
priority becomes, yeah.
So priority goes to the existing boats that are there.
So I guess my question is. Because you look like you've looked at it more than I have.
Yeah.
Does it presently read that when the select board gets to their, whatever the internal process Josh was just talking about has happened, that the existing boat with the new owner, if they don't have black marks against them, will get, the transfer will get approved.
Yeah.
And someone doesn't say, I want my new boat coming in, edging that person out.
Correct,
Correct.
and that's in the.
Yeah,
that's
Okay,
in
that's
the-
all we're worried about is the internal bureaucratic flow chart.
Yep,
Okay,
that's my understanding of it.
It is, yeah, that's,
Elliot?
In the sequence of events, from a buyer's standpoint, I would want to have the approval in hand before I sign the line to purchase the boat or obtain financing for it. In fact, that may be required.
and that's what happened. That's what
Yeah,
happened,
I
Lacey
remember
Jack,
that's
sure.
the case with Gus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that has to be accommodated in the process.
I don't know about accommodated, but it is recognized in the process, and that's why. So his closing on the purchase of that boat was held up by the process.
Contingent on
Mhm.
getting
Yeah.
approval.
Yep,
Yeah, right.
yep. And I think, any new owner has to know that is, it's not a rubber stamp, it's not a, automatic, they have to go through this process, they have to meet us and go through the review and all that stuff. So I think it's accommodated, in that it's part of the process. Yeah.
So
Also,
what-
I know a couple meetings ago, I asked Sophie how a transfer of a commercial passenger vessel license compares, what the similarities and differences are between transfers of other businesses that are licensed by the town. Do you understand my
I do,
question?
yeah.
And I don't know that we got a.
I don't think we really did
response
get a response to
on
that.
that, but I've kind of been wondering why we don't have the town lawyer, why there isn't some policy that is been generated by the lawyer. It's a legal agreement here.
Well, I mean, that's what the commercial passenger vessel agreement is, I mean, you know that.
So to get us back on track,
I can, just in reference to that, so I own a coffee shop, the coffee shop's permitted by the Department of Health. And a victualer's license from the town. If I sell it, those are not transferable.
Is that right?
Yeah.
The town license. is
They
not
have to
transferable.
reapply, right? The new owner reapplies, goes before the select board, and they also have to meet all the standards for the Department of Health for the state.
Mhm.
So it's the same process,
Yeah,
it's the same thing,
You don't get my permit.
because the permit is for you, it's for.
I'm curious, this is in the deep weeds, but if the coffee shop is owned by a corporation and you sell the corporation, that still mean you have to have approval, or is theoretically the permit holder, the corporation, and nothing's changed?
No, because in order to get a permit especially with the Department of Health, there has to be a designated individual that also holds a registered license for under the health department. And that doesn't.
So it ties back to
Back
what
to
you know.
the.
Mark was gonna get us back on track.
to get us back on
But,
track.
just
What
so
we're
it doesn't,
doing here-
everything doesn't automatically roll along.
Is reviewing the minutes, not
Right.
rehashing a meeting,
Right,
Right,
so
so, yeah, so, yeah, we should-
so I,
Do you
I
see
think,
anything in
motion
the-
to accept the minutes
as written?
as written.
yeah, the minutes were saying that we needed additional review.
Mhm.
I mean, that's what's in that
Yep.
section.
Any, do I have a second of that? Motion to approve the September minutes?
Yeah.
Tom, thank you. Any further discussions, September minutes? All those in favor of approving the September minutes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, thank you very much. All right. Committee membership update, okay, I will give this one. Since the last meeting, they're trying to kind of clean up, I guess you could say, the committee membership rosters. So they've gone through and figured out who's on what committee and when their terms expire, et cetera. In this committee, Bob, Tom, and Elliot are all expiring as well. We have a vacancy, an alternate vacancy because Margie Gross resigned. I understand that Tom and Bob have both reapplied for more pain.
Resentencing.
Resentencing, yes, exactly. Elliot, I understand. Chosen to end your time at the big table, is that correct?
That's correct. I'm term limiting myself. I think the committee will benefit from new ideas and fresh perspectives.
Well, thank you for your service. It's not, as we all know, it's not always easy being here, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of work. Some good lively discussions. So, well, we will miss you, but we hope that you will continue to attend when you can and chime in when you can. You have some excellent ideas. And I hope some of your particular ideas will be carried forward, such as the electrification one. That's one that I'll always put forward and remember you on. So that's a good one. We do have 3 applicants. Just so you guys know, at the select board, it's not up to us, but it's up to them. In addition to you two renewing, actually be renewed, we have Jim Bennett, who gave us that presentation a little while back. We have Tom
Presentation on what?
presentation on sea level rise and the effect on the yacht club in particular for that storm. He was the one that had all the stuff and then talking about breakwater,
Yeah.
that helped it, all that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
that's a good candidate.
Yeah, I thought he was a really good candidate. Tom Ryan, who is the yard manager at Ryan Morris in Camden, and has an extensive background both in Maine, but mostly in Massachusetts as well. And then Ron Hawkins has also reapplied. Ron, you all know, was on the committee previously. So it's gonna be up to the select board, who they, 3, they have to do 3. So we have 2 regular members, openings now, and 1 alternate. And so tonight they will be voting on. who to
So we
appoint.
have 3 openings and
3 openings.
5 candidates?
3 openings
Is that
and
correct?
5 candidates.
Yeah, just want you to know for the betting purposes, I've never been reelected to anything.
Okay.
Could all go down in flames.
Then make those odds.
All right, so that, anyway, so that will be tonight, to get us back up to the full roster. And, we'll see, they are appointing all the committees, right? There's openings across the board, so I suspect that will be a rather
I'm
late.
curious, do you know whether the interest level in the other committees was similar? Because this is actually pretty good interest level for the Harbor Committee.
Scanning, I just scanned through their packet. It looked pretty good. Yeah, it did. It looked like, and it was interesting, I guess. For each committee, there was, the Historic Resources Committee, there was a pretty good group, it seemed like. The only one that I don't know if I saw a lot was the Zoning Board of Appeals. I believe that one was, like still. I think that's a group that only meets when needed. I think it's when there's a.
Well, I thought the zoning board was like twice a month or something.
That's the planning.
Planning board.
There's the planning board with Mark, yeah, and the zoning, am I right? Isn't the zoning board of appeals only when
Yeah.
there's an appeal?
Yeah.
There's somebody kind of
Yep.
challenging something, so I guess it makes sense. So there's a lot of interest in that one. So anyway, by the next meeting, hopefully we'll have back up to a full complement. Steve Pixley is coming to this meeting, but he did tell me he would be late, probably another 10 more minutes. So we'll hopefully get him. So let's dive into the Harbor fee schedule discussion. So let's see, I did a couple of things in the interim and I sent them around. One is I asked for the expenses and revenues for the harbor. And I got those for last year, the full year, and for this partial year. So, because I wanted to be able to say, where's, going, how are we using it? I mean, it is important that we don't. Like, the budget committee does its work, which is pretty detailed, so I don't really want to do their stuff for them, but. I think I have felt in the past that reading the harbor fees on their own. Is a little bit thrown at our, like that, too much, I want to know where the money was going. I also asked, quote unquote, new Jody to, print out the, I don't know if you guys got it.
Oh, what I'm trying to read on my phone.
Yeah, this is the harbor fee schedule for the past 5 years.
I got one.
You got one? So that we can sort of see where, where it's gone up, where it hasn't. Et cetera.
Josh, in your email that you sent out announcing the meeting, I see 3 spreadsheets for monthly revenue, expenditure report, and 2 pages here. Can you interpret what year are these from?
So, yes, so one of them is, let me get. Okay, so one of them is fiscal year 23, which was, the full, so from last July to this June,
June 30th.
June 30th, yep.
Uh-huh.
And one of them is,
So the monthly revenue then is for last year, July to September.
let me find that one before I go see what it. July to September is this past summer. Yep,
That's for fiscal year 24 then?
that would be for fiscal year 24, that's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
Yep, July to September, because it's the most recent batch. And then revenue, similarly, monthly revenue is for the same for this year,
For
July
24.
for 24. Yep,
Okay.
so that's the most recent. And then the July to June one is the whole year, yeah.
So, see here, it says in monthly revenue, 17 harbor revenue, 320,000 budget number. And then it says percent collected,
Yeah,
31%.
I stumbled over that as well. I was like, what does that mean?
I just wondered where does the revenue come then in the year? If it's not happening, the majority of the revenue coming in the spring and summer.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't have all of the harbor, that wouldn't have all the harbor fees that are on this when you think about it, because those are all due by, they do by May 1 or April 1 or something like that. They're all due.
I guess it's hard to parse this and
It is.
and
I-
interpret what it's about.
After I asked for it and then I got it, I thought,
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it?
I asked for it.
You know, so
And we can, just to be clear, like at the next meeting, I could ask, this would be Jody, the other Jody, or this be you, Jody? One of the Jodys to go through it and actually give us, well, good morning, Mr. Pixley. Good morning. I could ask her to come through and give us a breakdown and walk us through.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at permits and moorings, uncollected balance of 82,000
That's one,
during July to September.
because, right.
However,
Because it all
those
comes
fees are
in
gonna be collected
in the spring.
right.
Yeah, that's the way I'm reading this whole thing.
It's just because of the way the fiscal year runs, that 82,000 in permits and moorings will come in between January and June.
Next year,
Yeah.
24,
Yeah,
at the
24.
end of this fiscal year.
I think that we,
Okay. Well, you know,
Yeah, because that's when,
Because like, look, if you look at, line 4, dockage miscellaneous, budgeted was $85,000. And then credits of 79,686. Uncollected 5,572, and I would ask Steve, who just walked into this. So that's saying basically that we came in $5,000 under budget for transient dockage for the summer through September.
Mhm.
Is that your kind of feeling?
Yeah, you know, after all these years, there's this weird unalignment of July 1st, which is the start of the budget year. Right? So when I'm doing stuff, I hired my, let me just back up for a second here. I'll get back to the whole, how much money did the docks make? Because remember, the boats don't start coming until late June. Right. Right, but then also, so if I'm almost, you know, Jimmy would come to me and say in June, oh, can I buy this? No, wait till July 1st, because I'm already over budget. We'll start the next, you know, so it was weird how things didn't really jive. Where my two, you know, the realities didn't really meet up. But as far as dockage, I'm sure they'll put in like, obviously July 1st of last year, we started collecting, and that's what you're looking at. You're looking at what we got from last July all the way up to.
Well, no, this is actually this July to September, so it's really just July and August of this year.
Oh, nice. So, yeah, so now they Jody must be on it. So she's like, okay, let me show you what they really made in real time,
Yeah,
which is good.
is that kind of your gut check that you,
You know,
you're a little bit slower than?
I actually thought we'd be a little less than that, because we had a couple good things where we had a boat come in and be like, can I stay for 8 days? A big one. I'm like, sure. You know, so yeah, that looks about right.
so I tried to line up those things, and I think the sort of profit and loss, expenses and revenue. And from our purpose, I think that trying to figure out how much the town should be spending on stuff is beyond our pay grade or knowledge base or anything. And then we should be looking with the possible exception of what we were just talking about, the transient stuff, but looking at the relativity between, okay, an inner harbor float versus a mooring, resident versus non-resident, just the relativity of whether someone is not getting hit appropriately. And not try to figure out whether Steve's department is spending too much money.
Yeah.
Because we all know they are.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Josh,
Yeah,
has the select board provided any guidance for our deliberations on harbor fees?
nope. We, so yeah, I guess I should have said that as we started, part of our mandate or whatever, I think it's in the ordinance, I'm pretty sure it is, says, that we review the harbor fees annually and make suggestions to the select board. But whether it's written in there, it is definitely in practice, and that has always been the case, so, they just want to know, our task here is to say, are there any changes to the harbor fee schedule that we suggest? Knowing that they may make changes as they have in the past on their own, they may have particular things that they want to change or whatever, but this is our chance as people who are more intimately involved with the harbor to make suggestions. Everything.
So I'd like to go with the first change,
Here we go.
late fees.
Yep.
In 2023, we've got it listed under Windjammer fees, which changed from a separate line item year before. And I think that needs to be clarified.
Yeah, I will say that the location of them and the way they were presented has
And that-
changed so much, and
It looks to me like that late fee just pertains to Windjammers.
Right, that's the way you read it.
Yeah,
I get it.
is that in the
I
most
think
recent?
yes.
in last year, we consolidated all of that. The late fee was listed 2 or 3 times previously.
Right.
And we just rolled it up into one.
I think, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that should be its own, it should be in red. It should be, you know, it's its own category. It should be at the top.
Right, I'd put it with the wait list area
Yeah.
or at the very bottom.
I agree. What about the,
Although, should the late fee be identical for a single mooring and a, you know, whatever the most pricey thing is?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it was. I mean, it was the same fee.
Right, but
it
I'm
was-
wondering whether the late fee could be changed to a percentage, 5%, 10%, whatever, of whatever the applicable fee is.
oh, I see what you're doing. Maybe that could be a difficult one to manage, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it would. Although I guess,
Why would, I
well,
mean, you see, the clerk would see, okay, they're late and the charge is $400, so the late fee is X.
it's $40 and.
I guess you're right. It's another flash of a second from clerk. Because usually she's just like, you have a late fee. Now she's got to make that computation, but it wouldn't be that hard. But I guess you guys wouldn't want to act, with all the years we've had it. You think it would be more equitable? Is that what you're saying?
More effective, that if you have a flat fee, then the small fee for the robo permit or whatever.
Sure.
Isn't that small, but the small fee for the robo permit would be X amount.
Yeah.
Or you could have X
Well-
amount for a percentage.
And
So-
you know what that would really affect is the wait list fee of
Yeah.
$25. When you pay $25 and a $40 late fee, the little imbalanced.
Yeah, especially since that's the one thing that doesn't authorize you to do anything.
Right.
So if you're a week late on that, you didn't get nothing for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just picking the number, it was 10%. So, then your wait list, if you're late, the wait list would be $250.
There's no incentive.
Well, I do think there would be,
Well-
I might put the $20 or $40 late fee or 10% or whatever percent, whichever is
Whichever
more,
was
no more.
more.
Cause you don't, if you're paying a 10% late fee on $25, who cares?
Yeah.
Well, but the other thing is, if we're talking about a wait list, if you go past a certain date, then you're off the
You're off the
list.
list.
Is that already covered?
Yes.
That's the incentive.
The late fee only applies, does the late fee apply for the same time period on every thing we charge?
Yes.
In other words, you get 30 days to pay a late fee and then
If
you
you're a day
die.
late, yeah, if you're a day late, but if on the wait list, if you're, then help me out, Steve, if you're 60 days late, you lose it.
No, it's the
30
same,
days
it's
or,
the same 30 days. If you, because I did it for 15 years or something, I was on the wait list. And it's the same April 1
Yeah,
is when it's due, and if you don't pay by May 1, you're off the wait list. You lost
yeah,
your.
so there's your incentive right there.
well, for sure. And I'm not sure if you guys are trying to make it so this is a fiscal reason you're doing this or a more equitable reason, like.
It's more equitable.
Because if it was equitable, then the one thing you could do, over the years I've been here, people have come to me practically on their knees. That have been on the waiting list for 12 years, and all of a sudden, because of some crazy circumstances outside, they were in Europe or whatever, and they didn't make that payment. See, I'll pay anything. Is there a bonus late fee? Like, so if you wanted to put in, there's a late fee, and then you lose your standing on the wait list, or there's another fee you can pay. You can charge whatever you want.
Well,
No,
You could charge, not whatever you want,
I
but
would
you
say
could.
that falls into the extenuating
If
circumstances.
the late fee is time limited to 30 days, then I have no problem with just saying 10%. So that,
right,
you know, the $25 wait list, so what? They don't care. But what you don't want is someone to be able to pay $40 on a $400 or $500, whatever it is, and be just rolling it on.
Right, well, because the big one obviously would be like a wind jammer, $4,200 is the
Yeah.
current fee. And you're saying, well, if you missed that, which it's a business, I'd be a little surprised if you missed it, but you might. You want it to be more than $40. You want it to be 420, which is reasonable since it's your whole business that is sort of at risk. So I think
I think it's a good idea.
Do we still like 40, by the way? Or 10%?
I don't think a waitlist person should be paying $40.
No.
No, this is just the penalty.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think the waitlist who is a week late,
It's all the same.
$25 fee
Exactly.
should pay $40.
You know, and that's, and
While
the
the
thing is,
$4,000 guy also pays 40. That
Right.
doesn't strike me as
Right.
appropriate.
and the thing is, you're a day late, $40,
Buck short.
you know?
So what are we saying there? You're,
Someone make a motion.
well.
I
no,
would
don't
move
think-
that we change the late fee to an across the board
10%.
10%. For the waiting period, that when you're in the late
You're in
zone,
the late zone.
you pay the 10% of whatever you owed.
So just 10%, no $40.
You're
In
right.
addition to that motion, separate it on its own line item.
Yeah.
Yes, I got that.
Second,
And I'll probably be the first person to pay it.
So
We're gonna
just to
flat 10%.
clarify, we're gonna get rid of the $40 flat.
And just make it
fee,
10%
10% of whatever you're.
You're late on.
we're not gonna get rid of it, we're gonna recommend.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's all a recommendation.
Yeah.
That's not a bad recommendation.
Yeah.
It's pretty clean, it's a pretty clean, recommendation.
All right, so hold on, we have a motion and a second, further discussion, Elliot.
That reverses the action we took a couple of years ago to consolidate all the late fees into a single.
No, it doesn't.
Well, you're making all these different late fees now.
No, we're not making them, we're not individualizing. it. There's one line item, 10% of the late balance.
But the balance varies.
Right,
But so it is a different number for each person, but it's a constant. It's
Yeah.
because it's a percentage.
Hey,
It's
Elliot,
10% for everybody.
let's say John Q. Public is late for paying all his stuff, his mooring, his inner harbor float, and his dinghy. That's a certain amount he owes, he gotta pay 10%. After, he's gotta pay, if you wanna, we'll take your money, but you gotta give 10% over that, group that together,
Yep.
whatever it is, X amount, you gotta pay that much.
That increases the burden on the harbor department.
It does, but like we said, not by much, because she's already gotta say, oh, you gotta pay $40. Right, so that same person used to be like, but, yeah, I can take that payment, but you're late, so I gotta give me $40. I think that's what they used to do. Now they're gonna say, it's not $40, it's 10% of this.
and using 10% actually makes the math easy enough for virtually.
I hope so.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Anyone over the age of 40 or 50.
But this calculator's on our phone too, so.
Their payment permits, late fees. $0 here in the first 3 months of our current year.
Because that's past the,
Due date,
even the late fee due date,
Yeah,
because this is for the,
those people already
We won't be
died,
seeing those until next spring
right?
or some.
yeah,
Mhm.
I assume all of them come in by June.
all right.
All right,
So
that's a
we
good
done
one.
with that one?
So,
I have a question. I wonder if the harbor master has suggestions for any adjustments to the fee schedule.
Well, currently,
your motion.
yeah,
Oh, sorry, we haven't
I
done the motion,
second.
yeah, good point, we didn't
His
actually. vote.
motion, I second.
So yeah, we have a motion and a second to, well, should we do it this way? Hold on, should we do each individual or should we,
I think we should.
you think we should each individual?
yeah,
motion?
yeah.
All right, motion and a second to change the late fee to 10% across the board from $40 to 10% across the board. All those in favor of that motion? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So I guess what I'd say is anytime we're gonna recommend a change, we do that on a motion at the end. Sort of recommend anything we didn't change, carry over.
Okay, oh, I see what you mean. Those are the status quo. Yeah, Steve, did you have any?
The only thing I would, over the summer, what I looked at was, overnight dockage for the town dock system. Trying to find this, what do you have right now?
Well, so we have, I was gonna ask about that, and we have,
on
day
the second
sailors,
page.
$40 per night.
No, on the second page, you got an overnight docket.
Here, I get it wrong. Get that.
and electricity and stuff.
54, 650.
Yeah. So first of all, we have less than 40, then we have 40 to 70, and then we have over 60. Shouldn't that be over 80
Or over 70.
or over 70? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, the 70 to 80, we love them so much, they're free.
Yeah, so that's obviously a typo, right?
I think that's a typo.
So obviously, let's pretend that's over 70, scratch that, put over 70. And it's $6.50 a foot for over 70.
Hmm.
I have toyed with the idea of over 70 would be $7.50 a foot.
I was gonna say, doesn't that?
And why do we have the differences?
When I first took over, it was $1 per foot.
No, but what I'm saying is, so the bigger boats are gonna pay more because it's a per foot charge.
Yeah,
But I would have thought of anything, if we're truly doing the sort of economics of it, the smaller boats can't actually be tied as close together, you know. So they're actually taking a little more effective space than they are.
Oh, I
Their
know.
per foot might be worse, whereas a 70 foot is 70 feet from bow to stern with no worries about
It's
boats
because-
linking up.
And the reason for that, this was a long discussion a year or two ago, I remember, is because we want to prioritize and incentivize dockage for the smaller boats.
Yeah.
This is a municipal facility. We really wanted to make it so that people who have a more modest boat could come in and always have not always have a spot, but be
And they also, more customers in town.
more customers in town. This is what it is. It's not a full blown,
That's the reason.
Okay,
well, when I first said, let's change what we're charging from $1 per foot, doesn't matter what size boat. We had an initial conversation. I remember the word was, we want it so mom and pop can still afford to come in.
Yeah,
Basically, so the smaller boat, under 40, you're not gonna, oh God, what, you know? They're just not gonna do it, they're not gonna come in.
and the big ones just limit your flexibility.
And then,
Yeah.
well, the big ones don't care how much you charge. That, no, I'm not,
No,
in
you're
all
right.
the years, that I've been harbor master, I think twice. I've had someone over 70 say, oh, and just offhand, how much do you charge? I've had that happen twice. The rest of them do not ask, and that's because they don't care.
well, and these rates are very, very reasonable, I think.
Well, I'm curious,
Radar
what would Lyman Woods be charging?
I don't know.
You did the sheet.
And they're a little different because they have to do, and so do I, as far as being, like they wrap two boats up together. And it's right on the cusp of what the legal limit is. They'll call me and say, we're gonna be about a foot over. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine, it's not that busy, but so that they charge differently, if you wanna be by yourself, it's a certain price at Morse.
these,
And also, they provide showers, laundry,
exactly.
parking.
amenities.
There's all kinds of different things
Yeah.
that we're.
It come with the
They come
docket
with
or
the
not
docket.
surcharge.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
All they get on our side is me.
All they get is Steve on that side.
Should
but
we
even
reduce
so-
the rates?
All they get is attitude.
I open myself up to that.
But I guess I wanted to ask Steve, like less than 40, so if you have Mark's future pilot boat, at 250.
I was thinking 41, we'll change that to.
Is, I mean, 250 seems like an incredible deal. Is it, or, I mean, we again, we want to incentivize, so I'm not just saying we need to raise it. But
It is an incredible deal. What are they paying for a hotel room?
Yeah, but no.
It's consistent with
From-
the other towns.
From cruising from here down south, that is a reasonable rate.
it's a
Well,
reasonable
what
rate.
would
Yeah.
a rental
It's
mooring be?
not an incredible deal, it's a
No.
reasonable rate.
No.
What's a rental mooring?
I mean, there are
I
spots.
think $40 to $50 a night.
Yeah.
there
Yeah,
are
so a
spots you
35
can
foot
go
boat is $85, $90, or they're out in the harbor
Correct.
for how much?
It's usually
40 or 50
40,
bucks.
50 bucks.
Sounds like the dock is a pretty damn good deal.
Just, and it is a good deal, but again, we wanted to
Incentivize
incentivize
it.
smaller boats to say, let's go in there.
Yeah,
I agree with it, incentivizing the smaller boat. The question is whether the whole scale should slide over a little, because I just think that $70 to be moored right there at the public landing, or call it 90 for a 35 foot boat, sounds like an awfully good deal. What is our,
Well, except that if you're and I realize I'm sort of speaking out of both sides of my mouth here, but on purpose. If you've got a less than 40-foot boat, you are probably of more modest means. And so even a $90 or $100, whatever it comes out to, thing is still a decent chunk of change for.
but I still go back that if you had a choice between, you know, we'll just do percentages, 100% on some mooring out in the harbor that you gotta come ashore from. And 50% of that, you get to tie up right there. It seems like it's awfully affordable. What's our, you
Do
know,
we have
capacity? What's our,
We don't, the town doesn't have moorings. We let Lund Morris and CYC take care of the rental moorings.
So that brings us back to mooring from Lyman Morris is associated with the amenities.
what is it?
And is the launch fee
Yep.
included in it?
Yeah.
So,
So you're getting
So-
lunch, you're getting a shower, you're getting laundry,
yeah,
you're getting the lounge, yep, Tom.
Based on some research that Elliot did previously. November 2022, right, Elliot? Camden, $2.50 a foot, Rockland, $2.50 a foot, Rockport, $2.50 a foot, Belfast, $3, Cascine, $3. So.
So that's why we're
This
there.
is,
Well,
we're,
and again,
we're right in the ballpark.
I think R250 was what the other people are kind of going by.
Yeah.
If you take July and August, what percentage of capacity are we generally, would you say?
I would say probably about 90%.
Thank you, Alan.
I mean, you know, it's odd with the pandemic and stuff in the last.
Right, you know what a normal year is.
Yeah, it definitely is a unique thing to talk about and study, but I would say this year, yeah, we were maybe 80%. I mean, you know, again, you've got that one, and Josh will confirm this, you've got it doesn't matter what year it is, inside of a certain window, it's everybody and their brother needs to be here. So it's a waiting list for like 3 weeks, you know, you just can't get in. And that's usually about August, beginning of August.
Yep, through. the end of August.
But yeah,
So if we left the 250, let's go to the sort of larger, about 40 to 70. Now we're to our conversation before we got started. Now we're starting to get into the bigger boat. And I'll say over 70 is the big boats. Do we wanna look at that one? That $4 a foot. My argument about incentivizing the smaller boats, yes, at the 40, you're in a smaller boat, but it goes up to 70. Should it be $5 a foot? Should it be, I don't know, what's the pushback and or feel you get from that?
you know, I mean, if we're gonna be, I'm gonna full disclosure, if someone comes in and they're 40 feet, 6 inches, and
Yeah.
the guy's like, how much is it? You know, and I say, oh, here's what it is, and they're like, oh, 39 feet, 8 inches. And if I look at it and it's especially if it's a small beam boat and I can get another boat beside him, I'll tell Janet, I'm like, yeah, too good. You know, knock them down, especially if they say something. If they don't say anything, I'm not gonna say anything, but if they're like, oh, okay. I mean, you know, so we kind of work with that a little bit with 6 inches, you know.
Down at the ferry landing, they have this little wheel
I
that
bet,
they run by and
I
I can
don't-
measure the length of your
we
trailer.
don't do that.
They don't trust nobody.
Well, again, you can obviously, when someone says, oh, I'm 39 feet, and you're like, yeah, no, if they're 50, if they're way over, then it's just not a discussion. But again, you know, you
So you've suggested 750 for the larger boat.
I'm just bringing that up because,
Because they don't ask, because that's and I would agree, we've already said that. That's not the group that we are incentivizing and we're targeting.
But, you know, it goes back to the conversation we had before we started the meeting about how boats have
I'm
gone.
getting bigger.
And I wonder whether the break point should be 45 instead of 40. Because there are a lot of old, I mean, if I remember correctly, the larger Concordia yawl was 41. That's sort of the older, smaller boats now that would be the demographic you're talking about. And whether we just,
that's just a big sigh from Mark over here. What's your feeling on that, Mark?
Because I'm looking at a 40-foot boat.
Yeah,
No, but, you know, in reality, I think
in this current economic climate that we're in, where everybody is focused on what's the absolute maximum we can charge and how can we add up charges to everything, I think we ought to like not fall into that
I
trap
agree.
and stay with fair, equitable fees.
And that's, thank you for saying that, Mark, because I think that's actually the way I feel about this whole schedule, is yes, we can charge anything we want to some degree, but what are we running here? What are we, you know, this is a municipal facility. The harbor is a municipal thing that we want to be welcoming to everyone. We want to serve residents. We also want to serve visitors. So I always fear raising rates because you can.
Right.
As
My
opposed to
my
when
point
you
was to
need to.
actually lower the rate by making
By
the
making-
smaller one go, instead of stop at
Just-
40, it would stop at 45.
Yeah.
And the next bracket up would be 45 to 70 or whatever.
Yeah.
You want to be kind, but not too kind.
Yeah, Elliot.
Does the harbor master, Steve, can you share any estimate of nights per category? Here, how many nights did we have less than 40 length boats?
I don't have, I can't up ahead, I can guess, but.
And our revenue doesn't break it down.
No, I mean, if you wanted to, you could actually do that, if you guys wanted to dissect it like that, we have all of our receipts saying, here's what this was, and so you could do that. I would say that we're probably, pretty close, as far as money goes, we have obviously more. The biggest moneymaker would be the middle one, 40 to 70. That would be the biggest, because a lot of times, you know, they're 42, 40, if you can fit. You know, when I rebuilt the docks, I made them through a little bit wider by pushing out that last foot a little bit. So we have another 1.5 feet in each hole. So because the beam of the boat is usually 14. And so we were 27, now we're 28.5 for what we can fit. So you can just fit two boats, big decent boats, 45 footers together. And usually if you're traveling together, they want to be together. And so that would be that's where you're making the most money. I shouldn't say that thing. It would appear, but you know, you got a big boat in there and they're there for 5 days, and that's $650 a foot. That's also a good money maker too.
Do you see 40-foot and under boats more often than 40 to 70s?
You know, I would say that's about equal.
Unequal.
That's what maybe a little less for the smaller boats. They're actually becoming just. Again, and if you have people cruising there, that money line is becoming a little bit more so that they actually have a little less in their pocket to spend. So they're usually like, we're just gonna take a mooring, we're gonna go drop an anchor. So that's why it's nice to keep that kind of low, because you can have them come in. The bigger boats over 70, about 4 years ago, I made it so, I mean, you know, if you put a 100-footer out there, I can take a 130-footer if they've got a night, if their beam is less than 24, because if it's more than 24, then the fishermen get it low tide and suddenly brings that the falls and the small boat marina in a little bit, and the fishermen, it's kind of tight. It's tight to get in and out. So it's not worth it.
Is how utilized is the inner harbor float?
Pretty good. We have a, you know, we share our float with Stuart Smith, and he lets my team manage that. So if we rent Stuart Smith's side, we take half of what that makes and we have a tally. So at the end of the year, we're like, oh, we owe you this much. We have an envelope to go in. So again, peak season, especially two boats traveling together, two 38-footers, two 40-footers, they'll say, oh, we want to be on the same float, you know, so that's pretty good. Good volume on that.
Has you got any traction on adding a float?
I'd love to add it. I'd love to add 2 floats. I told you guys that, and I think we should move on that.
Where would they be?
Well, I'm not sure.
Let's stay on this
Yeah,
one for
yeah.
now. Let's get back to this. So right now, I think we're all set on We like the less than 40 incentivized 250, seems like that makes sense. 40 to 70 and then over 70. Steve suggested over 70 goes up to 750 a foot, which I think I would support that, because again, that's sort of outside of our mission statement, if you want to call it that. So then I think the question is, this 40 to 70, do we change it? Do we feel good about $4? I mean, I was toying around with, do we go to 450 or 250, 450, 750? I could live with that. What do we do?
Based on what I said, I mean, there's no reason to just change it because we think we can change it
Yeah.
and up it, you know, and I don't see any issue with where it is now.
I support Mark's position.
I do too, actually. I mean, I think this,
So,
we no harm kind of concept.
I think the reason that we asked for the budget was to see if, are we in general in the hole, or are we okay?
Right, I mean, my quick read of those is that we are, we're
Okay.
Right.
Right.
How long have these dockage fees been in place at these numbers?
I guess 4 years, but if,
No, we
did you just raise them?
We raised them, that's why I got the ones from Jody of how we change from year to year.
in 2018, it was 250, 350 and 550.
Okay,
That's right.
so where did we?
Just changed $3.50 to $4 a foot, from 40 to 70, and we went up.
But how recently did these numbers, like particularly, I'm only concerned with the big boat number that Steve said. Well, we
It
can
looks
jump-
like in 2020 is when we changed them.
Because, with, inflation in general. And I think that is a reason to not just say, let's keep everything the same, because everything is not the same.
Well, but I think that's a good point, and that's kind of where I'm trying to find the balance, because I agree that as a facility, and that's why I wanted the numbers, if we're not making, if our expenses are going up, so that we're digging a bigger hole or we're not making it, then I would say yes, then we need to raise the rates, but I'm not seeing that. And so then I say, okay, as John Q. Public, yes, your gallon of milk has gone up due to the inflation. Does your dockage need to? Does, your pair of pants that you bought, you see what, you know what I'm saying? You're getting hit with everything is going out to dinner or whatever. Does this need to?
I'm only talking about the dockage where they don't even ask for the price.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about the
seven-
only the 70 and whether to raise that by $1, as was talked about,
Yeah.
because, the reality is that when the cost of the town services goes up, it's gonna go to the taxpayer. And I don't see a problem with reducing it a little for the huge boat coming in overnight who doesn't care.
Yeah. You said reducing, you mean raising?
I meant raising, yeah.
Yeah, so I would definitely support
I got that too,
Steve's
so.
recommendation of 750, going from 650 to 750, with the argument that that is, again, sort of outside of our mission, to support the smaller, but I think I guess what I'm saying is by doing that, we're continuing to incentivize the smaller boats, by keeping those at,
Right, and
250,
actually it
$4.
is facilitating not raising
that's right,
that.
they're 30%. So that's why
You could go to 7, you don't need to go I mean, I just think that every time I know that that's a place where you could get a little bit more money, and they don't care. And I asked one person, gentlemen, I usually never go on board the big boats. If they ask me, I'm like, no, I'm too busy, just because but this one guy came in about 4 years ago, Tupper Row, beautiful boat, and the guy's in my office paying the captain, and he's like, looked at my picture, I got a picture in college, I swam for Hawks, the New Paltz Hawks, and he's like, you went to New Paltz, so did I. He goes, I graduated 2 years before you. He hung out with the swimmers. He goes, did you know Sam Ricardo? I'm like, yeah, he was a senior when I was a freshman. We started talking. He goes, why don't you come on board? And I was like, okay, so I went aboard, beautiful boat, and I said to him, I'm like, would you care if we raised the price to whatever amount?
Today.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And he looked at me, because that was when we were kind of talking with Wayfair, and there was a little friction, because they thought we were undercharging a little bit. That was brought up anyway. So it was on my mind, and I said to him, would you mind if we raised it to whatever? And he looked at me just as calmly and earnestly goes, oh, it doesn't matter what you charge. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, it doesn't matter what you charge.
Inflexible demand.
My folks want to be here. They want to be next to the waterfall. They want to be here. So it doesn't matter what you charge. And at first you're like, was he just saying that? But it's true. They don't care. Literally don't care what you charge.
Yeah.
Now, they're sure by bringing it up, you may have one boat in 2 years over something that says, oh, yeah, it seems a little steep. Let's-
Well, then they can go somewhere else.
Exactly. The northeast.
All
I mean,
right, so-
I just don't mind. I love the idea of having the boats using the floats that I don't bother to notice.
Yeah.
As opposed to the, oh, wow boat.
Right, and that's the mission in it. So do we have a
Okay.
motion on that?
So do we go 7 or 750?
750.
750.
Do we have a motion? on
Mark,
that?
you're abandoning your principle.
Just that, well,
Well-
just for one line,
Just,
one of three.
So from 650,
Is that-
no, actually, because there's justification to raise that rate.
What is that justification?
We just talked about it.
Yeah, we just,
So I'd like Mark to express it.
it's,
First.
it's that the larger boats have a bigger impact on the docks. And it's that we want to encourage the dock usage for smaller boats and discourage the usage for larger boats. That's the justification that I'm coming up with.
And I was,
Steve's told us that doesn't discourage it.
no, but
No, for the,
Well,
that's a great ideology on his part as a member of this advisory committee. I would tweak it if I'm to pretend you asked me, Steve, can you reiterate what your ideology is on this change? I'd say that we are trying to encourage the smaller people to come in mom and pop by not raising that price. The bigger boats don't care what you charge. So why wouldn't we want to capitalize on that? They're gonna come anyway. So let's
Right,
put our
because
coffers in so I can not be over budget next year.
all right, since this is a change, do I have a motion on this one?
Move to change the, well, also,
To clarify that it's over 70.
yeah, that it's over 70, not over 60, and that we're raising it to 750.
So moved, second, anybody second?
Second.
Second by Mark, further discussion on that one? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, Tom, are you,
not opposed.
opposed on that one? All right, so that's 4-1.
okay, now the next thing is winter dockage.
Yeah, I went.
What about electricity?
I was gonna bring that up. So when I rent for people, I'm saying electricity is not included. If it's a wooden boat, and then usually people say, well, is it okay if I plug in? All I'm gonna have is a bilge pump, and it's gonna go off when it needs to go off. What am I-
Just keep the batteries charged.
Yeah, so I say to them, okay, and I keep it, and I've been keeping a track of if we have a spike in what we're getting charged for that. Like, the last 2 years I've been full. There have been years previous before pandemic where it wasn't full at all. But now people are saying, that's a great, they're seeing,
What boats, what type of boats are there for the winter?
usually two urchin boats will come in. And then another one.
And are they covered wooden, winter storage, or are they coming and they working on
They're
something?
working, they're working.
Okay,
Usually it's a local person, cadet, came in for 2 years, it's a wooden little tugboat, a nice little boat. Instead of hauling out and having the planks dry out, they're like, that's worth it for me to stay there. I think you could easily bring it to $900 easily, and knowing the guy now, it's still a fair deal. $900 from November 15th to whatever the date is.
So could you do 900 and then 200 electric?
It'd be hard to do that, and if you did, if I said, yeah, 200, now they're gonna be like, yeah, sure, they're gonna plug a heater in or whatever. And now it's working, unless we put, you could, I talked to one guy and he said, I'll buy a special thing that meters how much I use. It's not much for me to have a central cord that goes to a meter that says, here's how much I use, so you can check it and realize, I'm not using. So you could say, if you want electricity, then it's $200, but you also have to pay this, have this meter. That's because, you could go that way, it's working right now, if you guys wanted to. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah,
has anyone ever used the quotes winter storage and lived on their boat?
Well, you know, Tom does, but he's got a coal stove, but he's got a little teeny thing, he might plug in just for,
So, okay, so how about with a 30 amp plug? You charge $200. If you've got an extension cord, which is, all you're doing is charging batteries, then it's included. That work?
I don't care what you guys say,
So
it's working now.
I guess my point is, when they're saying they're just using the power to charge their batteries.
Yeah,
Is it an extension cord or is it a 30 amp plug?
it's an extension cord,
It is,
yeah,
okay.
like even like someone like besides Ray's he'd have the cords in there, because he's got a battery thing in there for well, it used to be both boats, now it's just Mercantile, he'll just have a regular cord going to the Swift, he's like, yeah, that's just running a bilge pump.
Yeah.
And he would have it over the years, you probably know this, that when the bilge pump clicked on, a regular little light went on it, and so he could go down there whenever he drove by and be like, yeah, oh yeah, look, lights on, bilge must be pumping, lights not on, you know, and he would be able to kind of see. This way, he'd be like, if the light's always on, but I better go check it out, because the bilge pump's running all the time, and pop the leak, but, so that's just an example of it.
I don't know, I like Mark's idea of. I've always thought in the winter time it's a little odd that we're not charging for the power down there.
Mhm.
And
What
that's,
if we went to this metered system, kind of across the board, could we do that? Just say, yeah, you can provide power, but it's metered and you're paying, you know, per kilowatt hour, or however the heck you do that, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Because the fact is, the town has an expense in providing that electricity. And so the town should be recouping that expense somehow, whether it's,
yeah,
Well, but
make it equitable.
yeah,
If you're
but
just
the
running-
thing is, like if you're running just a ordinary extension cord, you're not using a lot of electricity. And if you're just running the battery chargers, you know, I don't see any harm in that,
Mhm.
okay? But it's when you start running heaters and,
hot tubs and saunas and, yeah,
You
the big
know.
boats, that's why we charge for the big boats,
Yeah.
they come in and they have 200 amp service, and the rest of the town's lights dim when they come in,
but we charge for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the thing is, we don't charge for the quote unquote extension cord, the standard 110 deal, even in the winter time. But if you, like you were just saying, if you upgrade and you're doing like the 30 amp or even the 50 amp, well, now that's gonna be there's gonna be a winter fee.
Yeah.
It's the same as summer fee, but
Well, summer fees per night.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't think it'll be, but,
No, how many months is the winter?
It says it right on there, what the dates are, at least it does in the fee schedule.
you know, I did in, there's a dingy winter permit, but it doesn't actually say winter dockage. It doesn't spell out.
In the application, it's November 15th to I think April 15th. I think I'm pretty sure that's the date. So now, again, if it's April 17th and.
We're talking 5 months.
Yeah, and I'll sometimes right now, literally, if it's November 8th and someone's like, oh, can I come in now? And it's no dead, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, come in and you're already, because I'm not gonna, but I have the right to say no, okay, come in, because here's the date, you know. But a lot of times if it's 3-4 days before the date or after the date, I don't care.
All right, so we clarified on the schedule, I think that's a good point. Clarify what the dates are, 15th, April 15th. Do we want to, if it seems that we are at capacity now down there. I wondered last winter if we should be raising rates, for that, again, trying to be careful.
I'll definitely say 900.
You're suggesting 900? I mean, if there's only, what is it, eight boats or something down there, so it's only gonna be 800.
Depending how wide they are,
Yeah.
I start that process early with the schedule, with Jody, and say, okay, I got 4 people, here's who they're going, and then someone says, oh, I want dockage. Hasper already asked me to come in, but it's too late, I said, no, I don't have space, but yeah. So, you know, that's another thing, is it's first come, first served, so a lot of times people are like, well, it's spring, can I put in for next winter? And I'm like, yeah, I guess, you know, I'll put you in.
Well, it seems like there's more and more people, you know, keeping the boats in the water at the docks.
Yeah, just for $800 is worth it.
Right.
$800 is $160 a month.
Yeah, how much does it cost, how much does it cost
That's
to haul out?
pretty cheap.
That's pretty darn cheap.
Yeah, that's why it's, I think you can go to 900, no problem. Why was it 3 years ago we weren't full? I don't know, but that's not the case last year. Last time, it's not the case this way.
When's the last time we raised that?
2020. It was 600 before, and we raised it to 800. As far as I could tell, yeah, in 20,
I'm
I
curious why
think
we don't charge by the foot for that. I mean, any size, is there a sort of a limitation that you can only have?
You know, haven't had that issue come up, but good point. You know, we could say, if, you know, if you're over this. If you're over this much, there's usually it's a beam thing, not how big it is. How wide, how much space, but yeah, you had, someone came in and said, well, it's a 100 footer, I wanna come in, I go, well, then you could say, so you could say, if you're over 60 feet, it's. Whatever.
You mentioned the wooden boat thing, is that pretty much the people that want winter storage in the water and the fancier boats?
The fancier boats, the fiberglass boats don't care if they dry out. The wood boats, a lot of some, they don't wanna haul out because they're gonna, then they.
Right, but when you think of the cost of hauling and putting in. That's pretty much this fee, and so the storage would be
Yeah.
free.
Yeah, so the big thing is, well, now I gotta worry about it because you're in water. I gotta remember, it's on my mind, where it's out on land, I just forget about it. That's a positive and negative of it. So, but it's getting nicer now, so you can have a nice day in January, a nice day, a calm day, summer. Start up and go to the islands for a trip, and so I think that's one of the
right.
pluses.
I mean, I wonder if 900 is the right number, is it 1,000, is it?
But so there is sort of a length range that they're all similar. There's no point in doing a per foot the way we do on the summer overnight dockage.
You know, you could definitely talk about.
I mean,
that.
every boatyard would charge you by the foot
Yeah.
storage.
Yep. We could definitely, you know,
So what I would suggest is that we stay. Based on my philosophy, you stay at the 800. We add a line
Surcharge.
for over 60 feet. And then we also add a line for 30 amp power.
Surcharge for 30 or 50.
Yeah,
I think it sounds like it won't be long before we also are gonna have the issue of, I wanna come back next year. Because it sounds like word of mouth goes, oh, it's great to leave your boat in and you get to go out to the island on a warm day and blah, blah, blah. And we went from, there weren't many people to you're full.
yeah, that fluctuates. It's fluctuated throughout the years. Like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I wasn't full. So let's be careful. We don't outprice the local people.
Is, interesting, here, Mark, over 60, do we have any over 60 in the winter time?
Right now, we do for this year, for the first time. Yep.
I don't know.
Liberty Star is coming in.
so if we just say over $60,000,
Under 60,
under 60,
800.
800. And then 30 amp electric service, 200.
$200 flat for the season.
Yeah.
And what do we think the actual cost is for that electricity?
Well, that's the thing, is right now I say you're not allowed electricity, so that means I can really go in there with a sledgehammer and say. Whoa, I see a cord here, what are you running? And then, you can come in and look, Steve, I'm just running, it's just hooked to the bilge pump and it goes on once in a while. And then you walk in and, because if they're paying, well, I'm paying the money for this, and they walk in and they've got 4 heaters going and music and dancing girls, then we'll be losing money.
Yeah. So you're
Like,
thinking
not
just eliminate the electric.
I think let's try it again for this winter and I'll keep an eye on it, and just make sure.
Well, we're done. I mean, we're done for this winter. I mean, those speeds are
Sure.
done. This is for next.
And again, I can go down there and be like, look, there's no electric, but over the years, it's been like, well, I just have a cord, it's just, so the boat doesn't sink, it's, and
Yeah,
it's only a few cents or whatever.
yeah.
So, we're still making money at that. But I like the idea of over 60, put that in. $1,000, and we can make it 1,200. Big move. You guys, so make a motion. let's do this, let's move forward. I like you
Let's
guys.
move forward.
Gosh darn it.
Steve, you made a comment there a few minutes ago about being over budget. And I wonder if you might be able to elaborate on that.
I just know that in the spring, we redid the entire roof, which was an amazing thing. And we're working with FEMA and it looks like it's gonna happen. This woman, Valerie from FEMA, was really a big help. I spent a lot of time with her. I made sure I documented everything. Everything's all submitted and Jody's been a big help there. And same with Fire Chief Farley. So that's gonna happen. We're gonna get 75% of what that costs, I believe, knock on wood, cross my fingers. But when you do a big job like that, there's so many small little, minutia things that kind of spin off and start to, these variant little streams that come up. Oh, I need new pins for this new thing, and that's stainless steel, and I gotta get Rockport steel to do them. And that's after the fact. That's after the thing where I can't put that in. So there's a lot of extra costs, and I'll probably be pretty close to maximizing those two, maintenance budget and off supplies. Just, I rebuilt that whole office. Got the big front thing, you saw the big front porch I did, and then the side thing, it looks great, but everything's more expensive. Shingles, wood, nails, screws, flashing, and all the other stuff, the new antenna, all these things. So yeah, it's gonna be a little.
So basically, you're over budget, but you walk down on the dock there and you can see why. I'm not worried that the budget committee is gonna lock me up or anything, but we probably will be pretty
And
close.
over budget for a emergency capital
Yeah,
expense, a significant emergency capital expense that we think is going to be largely, if not entirely, paid for by grant funding. So
Isn't there, I'm not grasping the accounting term, but isn't there money set aside every year for future expenditures for docks, dock maintenance, dock replacement?
Capital improvement. That's changed throughout the years. A long time ago, we had a long thing saying, oh, in 20 years, I'm gonna need this, in 10 years, I'm gonna need to replace this. That stopped doing it now. What they basically say is, you come to the budget committee and you say, here's my operating budget, and here's what I need to put in for capital improvement for next year. That's how it works now. It's not like, oh, we should start, so we're not in arrears, let's start putting $50,000 a year in. But last year they did say, okay, in 3 years, I'm gonna need a new boat. This is before I decided we should get rid of the tugboat. So yes and no to that. If you went to the budget committee and said, in 3 years, I need to do this, so I want to put in, here's how much I want to put into capital improvement. And it's not like this 25-year plan where they just kind of look, their eyes are going like this. But if it's, hey, in 2 years, I need this, and it's this much money, so I want to put half in now and half in next year, then they're fine with that. So yes, the answer to that is yes, we've got money in dredge, because we're about to do another dredge for the private area next to the waterfalls. That's coming up soon, and we're putting money aside for the federal dredge, which we used to do every 50 years. Now we're talking about maybe doing that less because we're doing some sounding, and Josh and I have had that discussion. So yeah.
all right, I want to get us a little bit back on track here. So we sort of had a proposal to raise to change the winter dock schedule to add a new fee for over 60 feet to $1,000, keep the other one at $800 for winter 2024. The next winter. And we're gonna keep the electricity as it is, but Steve's gonna kind of keep an eye on that this winter. We have a motion on that one. Anybody?
I'll make that motion.
Mark makes that motion. Thank you, Mark. And also to clarify, the winter dockage season is November 15th.
15th to April.
Do I have a second on that one?
Sure.
Bob, thank you. All those in favor of that one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. All right, let's maybe we'll just keep going down the bottom of this and on the back page, and then we'll have to have a call if we get here for today. Cruise ship dockage. I did want to ask about that one, because I know that has been the topic of discussion at select board level a little bit. One thing is that it says cruise ship dockage, that is $1,600 per visit.
What's the conversation at the select board?
The conversation, at the select board, I think it was the last meeting, was why are the cruise ships not coming? Because we haven't had any cruise ships, I don't think we had any this summer. And do we want to change that? Do we want to attract them? And it was a fairly lively discussion. And I think the general gist was that we've accepted that we can't accommodate, we certainly can't accommodate the very large vessels, which are they actually are making a push to bring more of them to Rockland. Rockland has put limits on the number of large cruise ships that they can bring in down there. And the cruise ships are trying to change that. They're trying to bring in more. That's my understanding of it anyway, so they want to bring in a higher number of them. And instead of, they don't come to Camden, they put them on buses and then they.
Right,
come to Camden
But
by-
so whether they get to Camden by bus or by boat at the public landing, they're still wandering the
They're
streets.
still wondering.
Mhm.
And it's interesting, I mean, it's anecdotal, but people get off the bus and they basically asked about eating, and I gave the usual, like, well, if you want to sit on the harbor, you can go to the waterfront and this thing. And they didn't have time for that.
Yeah,
You know, they
it's a quick.
they had a very much, this is it's on the schedule, you get to go to picturesque Camden, you get to take your picture, you get to walk down the harbor, and then you need to be back on the bus in 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's good. They don't want them to spend money.
They don't want them to spend money, so I don't know why we want, if I had my way, I wouldn't even want to facilitate the buses leaving them here for 40.
So I think keeping it to this fee schedule, I think number one, we, in the past had said cruise ship dockage, and then it did say on the old thing, it actually had a number of, 175 passengers or less.
Yeah.
And that dropped away. And I think that needs to come back first and foremost, so that.
That's the
they-
passengers that are on the ship,
On the ship,
not
that's it.
arriving
Ship
on the
capacity.
shore.
Size of
Yeah,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have the facility to take, more vessels bigger than that.
So I think that,
We don't have
first of
it.
all, needs to go back on cruise ship dockage, maximum ship capacity. 175 passengers.
And it was 150. We changed it because American Cruise Line had a new ship that was just over that at 175.
Right, and now I think they have another one that's 250 or something, so the ships were kind of, they keep getting bigger and bigger.
So Josh, was the conversation indicating we wanted to somehow figure out how to get the big mothers that I've seen in Rockland in the last month?
No,
Or just get American Cruise Line types back?
it was more of a, why aren't they coming? And do we care? Now, I do know that American Cruise Lines is sort of, during COVID, they kind of went slower. And now they're kind of coming back. They made a push to Belfast. They want to bring more boats to Belfast and more frequently, et cetera. So I think that they will be asking the question, whether or not they have already, of can we come back to Camden with those? So I think that the, 175 passenger limit is an important one. I think $1,600 was reasonable then, and I don't see the reason to change that one.
I have to say that, everyone that uses the harbor, when they were coming, I had so many complaints that the drivers of the launches were very uncourteous. They didn't respect the no wake, that the schooner Surprise was hit twice when it was leaving the dock, because they pay these people hardly any money, so they don't know how to drive these boats. And so it came down to, why do we want them here? How is it advantageous to our harbor, to our town? So I think there was and that's whenever it's brought up, I'm just like, I'm not gonna. And at first I did advocate for these guys a long time ago, 20 years ago. It was like, I was the one that facilitated it. Oh, 50 passenger boat, come on in. Kind of cool. And then now it's 150, now it's 175, then where's it gonna go?
So when the actual, like, I'm not picking on American Cruise Line, but when those type of boats were coming, were the passengers not in the mode I'm talking about, where they were being brought ashore for a quick hitter or to get on a bus to go somewhere? Were they actually coming and potentially spending an afternoon or a lunch
Yeah,
hour in Camden?
Yeah, they were wandering around. They did a couple of little day trips on Periwinkle, you know, that's what
Yeah,
Dom
yeah.
was doing and stuff. So no, they were here longer than the quick hits from Rockland.
And they were bringing them to the public landing, not to the launching ramp.
Yeah.
So it's my feeling that year after year after year, we have been eroding the residential character of this community. And this is a step towards doing that. I mean, we're not Disney World. What do we do next? Require all our residents to wear costumes and, you know, it's just, you know, this is
We have enough already.
this is where we live, you know, and we need to focus more on that and promote more of that, you know.
So where you suggesting we remove the dockage fee altogether?
No, I'm saying leave it where it is, because it seems to be doing what we want it to do.
Well, 4 years ago, we had the discussion and we doubled the rate from 800 to 1,600.
Yep.
That was in 2019. Boy, we timed that. And since then, we've had very little cruise ship, and not because of our fees, but because of COVID. And so that hasn't, the cruise ships haven't returned because of COVID, is my.
Well, I don't know if I think for a while it was COVID, but now we don't know. And so I think to Mark's point, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know, if this is working to be a deterrent to then fine, you know what I mean? If they really want to come, this is not a ban on cruise ships, it's just saying, if they really wanted to come. Then
Okay, then, and as far as the passengers limit, the 175, I think that's fine. I wonder if that's tied to reality. And what I mean is, what are the sizes, are the cruise ships actually running now?
I mean, there are still the smaller 150 to 175 thing. I just know that there are
So-
also larger ones.
And I think another change that has been made with the cruise ships is they own their buses
Yeah,
now.
they have buses.
So they find it advantageous to stay in Rockland and bus to different locations.
Right.
And I think that's really what's going on.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's actually the right solution, because Rockland is a much bigger harbor than any of
Big
the
and
others. And these boats that we've seen over the last month. That's the appropriate place for them to be.
Except for the fact when they line up 3 buses.
No, I mean, this drives me nuts, and
plug up
they
the
give them
town, you know?
not enough time to, you don't have enough time to go to the waterfront, then you're not getting much time in town.
So I would,
You know, unless you're a small shop like mine, because the people that were here last week found enough time to get from wherever they got off the bus.
Really?
Get to the wharf at Lyman Morse and double my revenue for the day.
okay, so you did have a bump.
Right.
Well,
But I'm not serving, I'm a coffee shop.
yeah,
So I'm a quick hit. You walk in the door, you get a cup of coffee, you get a biscuit and you're out the door.
Yeah.
I'm not a sit down
How are
restaurant.
they getting over there?
They walk.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Down C Street?
The walking on
All those-
Lyman's
those-
Wharf last Wednesday was one of the busiest days that we've had.
Huh.
Yeah,
Cool.
and that was the German vessel that was in Rockland.
So sort of keeping it to the schedule here, I would suggest that we, this isn't, I mean, it isn't changes. In the cruise ship fees, cruise ship dockage, I would add maximum ship capacity, 175 passengers. And then clarify $1,600 per visit.
right.
Mhm.
Or double it again.
Yeah, but
No, I think we're.
No, just
Yeah,
per visit.
Is this a guessing?
Not to get sidetracked, but I agree with the sentiment that Mark just expressed, that there is a pressure that's going on, and I don't want Camden to become the generic new harbor,
yeah,
where it's nothing but commercial. There are so many other interests of people who live here who want to be able to access it, whether it's for a sailboat, a kayak, or whatever. There's just all sorts of pressures on a resource that's not getting any bigger.
Do we have a motion? I'll make a motion that all we're doing is changing the
Schedule.
schedule and not even changing the rate.
To what? Add
To add maximum ship capacity, 175 passengers and $1,600 per visit.
Yeah,
And I don't think that we think that that's a change, we're just
No,
making
no,
sure.
that's not- that's just
I think
clarification.
we're just making sure that it's understood.
Yep,
All right, let's hold it there then in terms of our a review of this.
Well, I would like to say that we have mooring relocation and mooring extraction. Someone make a motion to get rid of them. We don't have.
We don't do that.
We don't have a barge anymore, or a tugboat, so
So we
Okay.
can,
that's privately done now. So
Eliminated.
this is. Yeah.
make a motion to eliminate.
Where's that? Okay.
Second from the bottom.
Second page, yeah, miscellaneous mooring fees.
There's a motion to omit those from the schedule.
Remove those. Mark made that motion, second, did you second that one?
You're up, Bob.
Did you second that? Didn't you?
I am all in favor of it, whether that's the mover, the second or the third.
Elliot second. Thank you. Further discussion, all those in favor of removing the miscellaneous mooring fees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, thank you. Okay, now let's hold it there, all right, we're running memorial benches, just to finish the list. Does anybody need to change that? That seems like it's working. 600, 600.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
All right, so we'll leave that. Let's hold it there, Steve. You have a chance to read your harbor master report earlier.
I'm very, very quickly, just curious, is on these memorial benches, is there like is it in perpetuity, or is it you
No.
get a
it's
bench for a certain period of
Spelled
time?
out there, it's 10
Oh, it
years.
is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, I see.
can you give us your harbor master report for
I would say that, so I brought in the swim floats, in the next 2 days, I'll de-rig the Indian haul out at Curtis Island. There's only 4 floats in at Steamboat, we're gonna, take them out, I'm watching the weather and trying to keep them out as long as possible. A lot of folks have come to me and said, how come we've never changed for the last 20 years, the last day you could have your boat on Smallwood Marina is the 15th of October. And nowadays, especially that June was such a crappy month, they're like, can we keep them in a little longer? Because it seems like it's warmer for longer. And so I'm trying to, I'm not gonna say, let's change that, that date, but I'm working with Public Works because they help me take the small floats out. And so basically what I'm getting at is I'm gonna see if I can't wait till like the 23rd, 24th of October to extract the floats. I haven't told anyone that. So it's still the last day, it's supposed to be the 15th that you have to have a boat. And if you notice, there's probably 12 boats still on that system. It's the same players every year that don't take their boat out. And I gotta call them up and say, can you get your boat out? Because the 20th, every year I try to make it just a little later than the 15th. So I'm working on that. What are the big things?
through the storms?
Yeah,
No damage there.
I think we were lucky.
We got lucky last one.
I was watching that last one because it was a little spooky, but well, the fact it was gonna go northeast was nice. Right off the bat, it was nice. Well, we lost that tree on Lake Beach, which was sad. A lot of talk, a lot of folks call me up about the tragedy of the Grace Bailey. Which is gonna put a big ripple effect on the industry. So, yeah, a lot of talk. But I'm now studying for my refresher for ski patrol. I'm starting to meld into that cycle, that area.
Before you do, you'll be doing your reviews with all the day sailors and windjammers.
Yep.
I don't think you were here at the last meeting, but we are sort of asking for as much detail as you can provide. In each of those, you already have your sort of checklist, they,
Yeah.
pump out, they play well with others. And I guess we would say we're happy that we now have a written evaluation going on with reviews with those guys every year. Just give us as much detail as you can
All right.
about timing, timing of their trips, how they're, if they're conditioned to the docks, or whatever it might be, that we should consider.
Yeah.
When because that is an important document in that, if someone were, if there were problems with a particular operator, that is what provides
Yeah,
a potential opening for someone else
yeah.
to come in if they were not
No doubt.
playing well and,
I was surprised this year how well it worked out. Probably the best year we've ever had, and it was the only first time we had all premise operating at capacity. And it almost was like everyone realized like, well, we gotta button things down here because it's, instead of being loose, they were all like on it. And it worked exceptionally well for sure.
yeah, Perry Nickel being in first year, maybe looking for, quite a detailed report, with regards to the impact of that. Obviously, it appeared to run well, so that's awesome. Okay,
Can I ask one question? You referred to the ripple effect of the Grace Bailey in the fleet. What do you see as other than the tragedy, but is it gonna make insurance costs go up or something that's gonna make it harder for the fleet to operate or just
Well,
emotionally?
well, since the onset of the industry in 37, they've never had a freight failure, never had a fatality. And I'm sure they've had fatalities, but they were probably like, a heart attack or something like that, not,
Right,
something like this. And so, and I don't know the full extent of how Coast Guard would sit around a table, sipping coffee going, well, should we change anything in the way we do it? Well, no, look at our record, now this, which is
and they've said that they're doing a formal investigation and a review of what might have to change to prevent such things. That's what
yeah,
Coast Guard said, so.
the boat, wasn't there boat up near Islesboro that tipped over maybe 5 or 10 years ago? In a fluke, rogue gust,
oh, well, in 81, the Isaac H. Evans.
so much
Oh,
more recently.
yes, that was in, where was that, Portland?
No, I thought it was up like on the way to Islesboro. Forget it, don't.
This is gonna change things. I think most people just like, they don't understand what happened, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the Coast Guard will start requiring the schooners to pull the mast
Yeah, there's gotta be a better survey. It's
Yeah.
an inspector
In terms of
vessel,
this,
you know.
every 10 years, every 5 years, something.
I mean, if you're x-raying hull rivets, you can, check a wooden mast.
Yeah.
Further, in the future, rather, sorry, November will be, largely finishing this harbor fees schedule in terms of, upcoming meeting topics. When after that said that. It is usually the second Tuesday of the month. There is a pretty good chance I will not be here on the second Tuesday of the month. So, actually, sorry.
Which would be the 14th.
That's the 14th. No,
14th,
yes, sorry, the first Tuesday. So 14th, that would be a good day for me, is that what everybody else? Yeah.
Yep.
Let's do it. Harbor Community Meeting.
if we're still here.
If we're still all here, Bob.
And you'll need a new vice chair.
We will.
All right, gents,
All right, thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
See you later.
you know how to contact me, if you need any spiritual advice on anything?
Yes, as always.
So we officially adjourned.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Elliot,
Bye.
you're not leaving town, are
Thank you.
No, evidently.
you? Okay.
Thank you.
Pleasure serving.
Oh. Okay. Good luck finding a new boat. There's plenty available.
That's easier, a whole lot easier to buy a boat than it is to sell a boat.
Yes, I have one for sale.
Do you?
Yeah, but it's all online more, so we'll see how that goes. Grandkids said they need a new sailboat. They said, get rid of that thing. They said, we want a sailboat, Grandpa.